Hey, what's up, guys? It is Dan from FightWave, and today I have to say this is probably one of the interviews I've been the most excited to do in recent memory, and it's just because of how long I've been following this guy's career and how excited I am to speak with him today, because he holds a 95% finish rate. Should have been 100%. Goddamn it, Brad Tavares. We should have kept that 100%, but regardless, he's an amazing competitor. He's made absolute waves in the UFC middleweight division, and this guy's journey has been remarkable, from going from the EFC promotion in South Africa to KSW and showing, absolutely amazing sights there, to now in the UFC and, one fight away from a title shot, and arguably, possibly potentially the first South African champion to ever grace the UFC octagon. Today, I'm here joined by Still Knox himself, Dricus Du Plessis. How you doing today, brother?
Hey man, thank you for having me. Doing great, absolutely good. Fight camp's going as scheduled, so it's good. It's good to talk to you, and feeling absolutely great.
No, yeah, absolutely. And first and foremost, Dricus, obviously you've made absolute waves since coming in the UFC octagon. You've said remember the name, and we've remembered the name since. You've scored back-to-back knockouts as of late. Or I should say, you've defeated Darren Till by submission, and you've defeated Darren Brunson in spectacular fashion. And then you obviously had an amazing war with Brad Tavares and two amazing finishes over Phil Hawes and Marcus Perez. But I think that, for fans of the sport who've been keeping up with obviously all the other European and regional promotions, you've created absolute waves in the promotions like KSW, EFC. You've made a big name for yourself globally, I feel like, and that's kind of indicative of your fighting style. A very entertaining fighter, very entertaining competitor. Obviously, talk to me just about the vibes right now around camp. You're fighting Robert Whittaker. Obviously, there's a big matchup with title shot asterisks attached to it. I think implications attached to it. Talk to me just about, the mindset, the framework, and just where your headspace is at right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is by far the biggest fight of my career. But I mean, if you go look at my career, it's almost like how I always say it is, and how it's a fact is, it's not like I'm doing one fight, a big fight, then it's not a big fight. Every fight is the next one is the bigger, the next one is bigger. Ever since joining the UFC, for example, has been fighting a top 30 guy, then going to number 20, then hitting up number 13, number 10, number 5. It's almost like, every fight for me is the most important fight, because without a win there, you're not going anywhere. And my whole career has been this trajectory of fighting up and never fighting down, trying to get to the ranking I want to, getting to a title as soon as I possibly can. And, fighting a guy like Robert Whittaker, that doesn't change for me. I'm not thinking, great, I'm fighting this amazing fighter, because he is an incredible fighter, and it's going to take a near perfect performance to go out there and finish Robert Whittaker, and that's what I intend on doing. I'm going out there with the exact mindset that I always do. Go out there and put on the best performance I possibly can. Go out there and entertain fans. Go out there to either knock him out or get that submission. And my frame of mind is not, this is a big fight, there's a title shot that's hanging off this. That doesn't matter. To me, what matters is this fight. I don't think about the title fight. I don't think about the belt. I think about Robert Whittaker, the man in front of me, and even that in itself, I only think about the fight. I don't think about Robert Whittaker as a person. I don't see him as a person. He's somebody on my way to the top, and it's going to be it's a big mountain, but I'm a good climber.
Absolutely, and I feel like that's very representative of just how your career has gone thus far. Obviously, anytime there's been a setback of some sort, you've always bounced back with tremendous, leaps and bounds. You look at the second fight with Roberto Soldic, you lost that fight, and then you bounced back with two spectacular finishes, a submission over Yannick Bahati that ultimately, catapulted you onto the UFC's radar, and since then, you've never looked back. I feel like that's very indicative of your career because, like you said, just being the consummate professional that you are, it's always about the task at hand, and you're never overlooking your opponents. And I feel like that mindset and the way that you've kind of approached your career thus far is part of the reason why we're seeing such a tremendous, uproar in South Africa, and, the crowd getting behind you. And obviously, there was the recent controversy, which I think honestly was blown way out of proportion. I know a lot of people have been talking about that. I personally think it was kind of like redundant. I know the intentions behind what you said. And I think that aside from that, it would be really easy to ask you, oh, what does this mean? What does that mean to you? What were you trying to say? But I feel like ultimately it's about the impact that you've had on your people thus far. I think that what you've done with the people in South Africa, with Team CIT, you, Cam Simon, Don Madge, JP Buys, you guys have showcased a level of talent coming out of that country and a work ethic that I think we've yet to see from a lot of other countries. And obviously MMA is a developing sport, but we're slowly seeing countries climb their ways up and produce top quality talent. And the mindset and approach that you guys have taken and showcased to the people of South Africa, it speaks volumes. And it's no wonder that a guy like you has such a big backing and people backing you, and there's no wonder why your mindset is so concrete and you're able to put on such spectacular performances. So I guess just to ask a question here is, what has it meant for you to see this evolution in South African mixed martial arts, and to see, obviously you mentioned you and Cameron Simon, same team, same gym, but seeing the evolution of the sport in the country as a whole, JP Bays doing great things in the UFC thus far, and just in his career, Don Madge doing great things in the PFL, this sign of things to come from the country itself. What has it meant for you to kind of grow up through this evolution and be able to showcase that directly hand in hand with your career?
Yeah, all the things you just said, it's factual, because for us, for myself, I know that's what it was like. Is I always had this dream and this belief in my team here, Team CIT, and in staying in South Africa and staying in Africa and fighting out of, I'm a mama's boy. I'm staying at home. I like it here, and I always had this dream of going to the UFC, and I was really 100% and still am believing in our system, in my coach. When I first had my head coach, the man who puts everything together, in my team, the people around me, the team we've built, because there was no blueprint for us. And there was guys before me, they got Gareth McLaren. Those are the guys who went to the UFC, but they were the pioneers for South Africa. They just showed us that, listen, it is possible to get there, and Gareth even got a win. But, it was almost like the entry phase. And when I started racking up wins in the UFC, finally it was almost like, getting that check mark of, listen, what we are doing is 100% right. We are on the right track. It's very different, and it looks different than what people are used to, but it's working, and we're getting that wins. And I'm fighting for a number one contender spot. Cameron Simon is looking absolutely amazing. Like you said, the guys like John Madge, for example, he did great things. So it's almost a checking a box saying, listen, we are on the right path. We, even though we don't have that blueprint 100%, we are creating one, and it's working. And it means absolutely everything to me to know that I'm really inspiring up and coming fighters, youngsters that are considering fighting, in the sense that, listen, they realize I don't have to go away. I don't have to move to a different country far away from home. I don't have to leave everything behind. And you can if you want to, but you don't have to. We do have what it takes right here in South Africa to, and that's already said. I don't have to go out and be a champion. I'm going to, but I don't have to, because I'm already fighting Robert Whittaker. I'm already in the top 5 or top 6 of the world. That already shows you what is possible. So, that's what it means to me. It means absolutely everything, in the fact that, youngsters are looking up, seeing myself, Cameron, from the same gym, and they realize, listen, these guys have what it takes. This gym, and, I'm not saying it's only our gym. I'm saying this gym does have 2 fighters on winning streaks in the UFC. So obviously they know what they are doing. And obviously, if I'm taking my career seriously, when I'm wherever I am in South Africa, if I don't have to move to America, I don't have to move to New Zealand, I don't have to move to England, you don't have to move anywhere. You can move right here to Pretoria and have a world-class team right there behind you. And that's amazing, because it gives hope, it's inspiring, and it's once again making a country proud. And I believe that's why the people are getting behind us so much, is the fact that they see how proud we are to represent this flag, and they are proud. We are proud people in South Africa. We are very, very proud, especially when it comes to our sports. We are patriotic, and we want to see our guys do great.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think that, Dricus, you hit the nail on the head. This was absolutely, I think this was, this is the message that has been there the whole time. But obviously, you know, like the media, they like to play on the, you know, the words and really try to twist and push a narrative. And obviously, you know, some interviews you've done, they're prying you, trying to, you know, poke you and poke the bear and try to bring some responses out. And, you know, ultimately it's about, you know, getting your message across. And I think that what you're saying is absolutely true. You know, obviously I'll bring up an example for me, you know, ethnic Armenian, you know, a lot of Armenian fighters, they leave Armenia and they go to places, you know, like Georgia, like Russia, like Florida, to get the training. But there's no talent based, or I want to say there is no like concrete talent base in Armenia that's actively training there. But what you guys have been able to build in South Africa, you know, your home, plant your boots in the ground and really be able to showcase, look, this is my home, I live here, you know, this, my identity is being South African. This is who I am, this is what I do, and this is where I want to be. You can succeed from living here. You can succeed from what we're building, the culture. And more importantly, it's about building that culture and really showing that, you know, regardless, like, to be a professional, it's just about being a professional. It's about having the right mindset, right approach. And it's not necessarily about where you are. It's about who you're with and who you surround yourself with, and the quality that you guys have around you. You know, Cameron Simon and you being training partners and showcasing, you know, that mindset, that drive, that willpower to persevere. It's that perseverance at the end of the day that shows where a country can really propel itself into contention. And I feel like that's the message you were trying to get across. But unfortunately, in this day and age with social media, you know, everything is turned around in an instant and, you know, played around words. But regardless, you know, I got the message, and I think that it was a beautiful message. And I just wanted to say that, and I think it's remarkable what you guys have built at Team CIT, and also just, you know, South Africa abroad, you know, with the Extreme Fighting Championship promotion, you know, having a professional promotion there firsthand and being able to have fighters fight and get that experience, it builds the country up so much. And I guess being around there, you know, and being a hometown hero, a hero in the country, and being someone that people look up to, what has that meant for you to be that guy? You know, like you said, redefining what it means to be a South African mixed martial artist, and more importantly, a South African competitor.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, like you just spoke about the Extreme Fighting Championships, it's, you know, it seems like, oh, this is the South African promotion. It's not just the South African promotion. They are an international. You know, they went over to being a international promotion. I was a double division champ there. And ever since I became champion, I haven't fought, except for my very last fight, I fought a local guy. I've only fought internationals. And that they are the pioneers of the fan base pioneers of the sport. They are still going at it. The biggest problem I think they have right now in the UFC is they also didn't have a blueprint, except for guys like the UFC, bigger promotions. But to make that work in South Africa, they had to start from the bottom. They had to gain trust of fans. They had to gain fans. The sport wasn't known. I mean, I started with the UFC, I think UFC 20, just when they were, I think, operational for about 3 years. And, you know, just when the boom started, I made my professional debut. And I think they've done wonderful things too, but not only an African promotion anymore. If you look at a guy like Danny Henry, who did great in the UFC, who came through the EFC rankings. You know, all the guys we have, JB Bass came from EFC, Gareth McLellan, Don Madge, myself, Cameron, all of us, we came through the UFC. And then there's other international names as well who fought in the UFC. I can't remember her name right now. She fought for the belt in the EFC as well. I think she's ranked number 3. She fought there as well. Yeah, no, I'm talking about the blonde girl, the French girl.
Oh, Manon Fiorot?
Manon Fiorot, yeah. She also fought in the UFC. So there's been some amazing talents coming from there. And, you know, that's amazing to see. And, you know, like you said, for me to be a champion in the local promotion and then finally going out, and because, you know, like you do right now, like you get the, you know, so you're going to get the haters. I don't really listen to that, but, you know, you're going to get it. Even back then, locally, there was a lot of people, I wouldn't say too many, but there was quite a few. I would say 1 out of 10 would say, listen, Dricus is good. He's the champion over here. He's our hometown guy. We love him, but when he goes to the UFC, it's just at a different level. It's not going to be the same. Now, he's beating some guys that are coming from Brazil, America, whatever they came from, which I fought, and local guys. but that's not the UFC level. And yeah, he's looking like a hero over here, but over there he's going to get his ass kicked. And to go over to the UFC and getting the job done, because at that stage I didn't know either. I had a very good feeling about myself and how good I am, but you wouldn't know until you step into that octagon. And going out there on a short notice, getting my first win in the UFC was absolutely amazing, and getting that second, third, and now we're on a five-fight win streak, fighting Robert Whittaker for number one contender spot. It's a sweet game, and it feels absolutely amazing. It feels like yesterday I made my debut, but yeah, we are. It's absolutely incredible, and it means the world to me.
No, yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, just from even looking at your background, from humble beginnings, living the farm life and, growing up on the farm, growing up in the South African, I want to say, like, in that lifestyle, and showing, coming up from that regional circuit, showing them, and proving them wrong, and having that sweet feeling of proving the doubters wrong, and even the earliest stages. And, criticism comes in all sizes and shapes, but I feel like if you're a true professional, you kind of navigate around it in such a way that you're essentially undeniable. You're undeniable, essentially. And that's what I feel like I get from you, Dricus, is this professionalism mindset, and this, just being a true professional of the sport. It doesn't matter who you're competing against. Ultimately, your goal is just to improve and level up through each performance, and also just inspire. And like you mentioned, even on the regional circuit, the EFC promotion, regardless of whether in South Africa or if they've held promotions in other shows, the fact that it developed in South Africa and it was able to expand and develop and push itself to other boundaries and areas, it speaks volumes about, like I said, just the willpower, having that foundation behind you, and having those forefathers, I should say, for lack of a better word, like, the Gareth McClellans who fought in the UFC and managed to get a win, and have them be inspiration and proof. And then the people like yourself, I imagine when you're walking in the streets in your hometown or wherever, you're getting people coming up to you left, right, and center, being like, hey, you inspired me to walk into a gym, or hey, you inspired me to really start looking into it seriously, knowing that we can actually make it on such a high level. And that's really the root of why you do what you do, is to influence people and to inspire and motivate people, on top of being such a successful combatant. And I want to ask you, just from, like I mentioned just a little bit earlier, from modest beginnings, growing up on the farm lifestyle and actually going to school for, agricultural economics, if I remember correctly, just, coming from that humble background and going into sports and finding your footing in something. How has this journey been for you to be able to go from such humble beginnings to being one of the most recognized fighters in the world, not just in South Africa, but in the world, and hailing from South Africa and bringing glory to your nation?
Yeah, exactly. It's I have to be honest with you. When this whole rush started with the UFC, because I was a known fighter, especially but for fight fans in the EFC, growing gradually becoming champion. But then, of course, making noise in the UFC stage, and every UFC is live in South Africa on network, and then it started to become just more and more people following, more people coming to say it's incredible to see, and ever since then. So right now I own a gym, the gym CIT. I own the gym, and right now we have 117 amateur MMA fighters. Not all of them are fighting, but all of them are training, and we have obviously an amateur fight team. So that is the amount of people interested in becoming potential fighters. Where 4 or 5 years ago, we maybe had 20 guys, 20. I remember when I was coming up, there wasn't even an amateur scene I could really go train at. Whereas right now, we are accommodating 117 guys that are training to become amateur MMA fighters. So that is just a testimony of what we've achieved in terms of people believing that I can do this, I can start. I like MMA. Let's start training. Let's get it done. And that's amazing. And like you said, being recognized on international stage, the biggest stage in the world for mixed martial arts. It's the Olympics for mixed martial arts. It's the ultimate goal is to firstly be in the UFC, and then of course doing good and bringing a title home. But for me, I mean, it's still surreal, but I have no doubt that this is where I need to be, and I'm extremely happy to be here. And I have no doubt that this is just the very, very beginning of what we can do and what is yet to come from South African and African MMA fighters. I think we are going to see a rise in the amount of them being signed, especially now. I think we're going to see more and more fighters that do reside and train in Africa get signed to the UFC, especially from our gym. Because at the end of the day, you have to realize that the UFC, they gain trust in the gym, they gain trust in the system, they gain trust in coaches, and I think with myself and Cameron right now, we are gaining the trust of the organization, and and even other bigger organizations, maybe guys with not all that experience, getting signed to other international promotions, which firstly financially makes it more viable for them to do this full time, and of course it's a snowball effect. It's just going to have more and more people motivated, more and more people seeing that they can make it to the international level, get that experience, and finally and ultimately make it to the UFC. And it's a great responsibility. It's a big responsibility, but it's absolutely amazing. It's a dream come true, and I'm loving every day of this life.
No, yeah, absolutely. And it's a testament to the ideology that the proof is just in the pudding. And like you said, gaining that trust, we're seeing slowly, gradually, even, Cameron himself, fighters getting invited to events like the Contender Series, getting those opportunities abroad, internationally, being able to fight, like yourself, short notice on Fight Island, getting that opportunity. And it's just buying into the system, buying into the culture, and ultimately just becoming more notable and being more reputable. I think mixed martial arts in all of its glory is about that reputation and earning that kind of credibility. And I feel like we're at a point where South Africa and other countries whether it's Zimbabwe, we just had Themba Garimbo put on an absolute amazing performance. We're seeing time and time again amazing competitors coming out of South Africa, coming out of Africa in general. And, it's just about buying into the system, more importantly, and allowing the countries to develop this mixed martial arts acumen or combat sports acumen altogether. And I think that, what I get from you, Dricus, is very reminiscent, and I think this might be a great example, honestly. You have this championship mindset, and obviously you have championship aspirations. Looking at if you get through Robert Whittaker, that pretty much guarantees, I shouldn't even say almost guarantees, a title shot against Israel Adesanya. But I feel like your country, even despite mixed martial arts, has been rooted in such championship endeavors and accolades. When I think of South Africa, obviously I think of Jody Scheckter and Formula One. I think of what he's been able to do and bring a championship to South Africa. What would it mean for you to possibly bring that title back home and have it be such a big testament to what you guys have built?
Yeah, 100%. I think you said it perfectly there. That I think South Africa as a country as a whole, especially in our sports people, when we do it, we have been underdogs for a very long time. Our rugby, we have the most Rugby World Cup wins, and it started in 1995, where South Africa, there was a lot of political uncertainty in the country, and we hosted the 95 World Cup, and nobody gave us a chance. And at the end of the day, we beat New Zealand in the final, and right now we are the country with the most World Cup wins. A rugby final for us, no matter if we're the favorites or the underdogs, we are going out there to do it as good as it possibly can be done. And you said it earlier that it's all about professionalism at the end of the day. I honestly think, when you look at me when I go to fight, I smile quite a lot, and I look really happy to be there, and I am really happy to be there. But I think people misjudge how seriously we take this. I think people are quick to say, okay, but listen, he looked unfit because they don't know what they're doing, or he doesn't know how much work he has to do. I don't think people realize how serious we take it. I've trained all over the world. I don't think people realize. Yes, absolutely. I mean, an incredible gym, incredible coaches. Coach Henry Ruth, he's incredible. The team there, I have a lot of friends there, amazing place. And, they're obviously one of the apex gyms in the world, but I really don't understand. I don't think people realize or understand how serious we take this at CIT, and how professional we are as a unit. And it's, like you say, for me to bring a title home, it's not only making me proud because look what I achieved. It's a whole team of professional amateurs and aspiring young fighters seeing that and being inspired to a new level. Whereas it can make the difference of they think they want to do this to I'm going to give everything I have to do this. And of course, bringing gold back to South Africa, bringing that achievement back as a South African, I know what it feels like when the Boks go out and they win a World Cup. It is amazing, the unity it creates, the the vibe it creates in the country. Everybody seems happy. Everybody is excited. You know, regardless of culture, regardless of anything. If you're a South African, you are loving it, and it's an amazing feeling just as a fan. So I would love to bring that same feeling to my country and to the people that watch me, and have South Africa on their feet and have South Africa share that unity that we do when the Springboks win a Rugby World Cup. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. It's amazing.
Absolutely, and Dricus, first and foremost, I love you mentioned, enjoying the moments, but having this level of, like you said, professionalism and learning across the world. Not even just, I know we're talking about South Africa a lot, but the opportunities that have been bestowed upon you to go abroad, be able to look at different gyms, different perspectives, really find your footing and know where the metric and where the threshold is and where you need to be, and bring that back home and give that to the fighters back home to show, there is a level that we have to maintain, and if you're not up to this level, you should seriously reconsider. And it takes a strong man and a devoted man to his craft, to his people, and to the passion of what he's doing to really be able to translate that to a entire country, more or less, people from his hometown, people from where he's from. And I feel like you guys have done that so remarkably well, and I look forward to, if, successful in the Whittaker fight, and, obviously, just if you do end up getting that gold, and I know that there's going to be celebrations, for days in South Africa. That's no doubt about it. And I know it's written to some extent, and, already, just everyone's looking forward to watching you compete. But, if that championship ambition's attached to it, and that championship title is attached to Dricus Du Plessis, I know that the people of South Africa are going to be ecstatic. And, not even just that, but the culture, looking at you and Cam Simon, who's a remarkable competitor in the UFC's bantamweight division, obviously I imagine there's a little banner, a little lightheartedness, good vibes of really breaking a quality culture. I want to just ask off the top of my head, have you been giving a Cam a hard time on the fouls? Obviously, he's been fouling people just a little bit, and
no, like he doesn't hear the end of it, because if you know Cameron Simon, he's such a soft-spoken, and he's such a decent young man that Cameron is really a very, very nice guy, and like one of those guys that you almost, it seems fake at first, and then you realize like he is really that nice, and he's such a good kid. Like I said, I've known Cameron since he was 13 years old when he started training at the gym, and having a guy like him go out there and getting so many fouls. No, for us, it's really funny. We like to joke around. There's a lot of banter in this gym, and like in any gym, it's a brotherhood, it's a family, so that's all normal. But he does not hear the end of it. We actually asked him, like, it looks like, I think he would do great in doing like a women's self-defense seminars, because that's the only techniques he's really good at, is like the groin strike, the eye pokes. Like, he's really, really good at it. And, so it's absolutely funny, because I told him, listen, you have more fouls than fights. That's not cool, man. No. Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, man. But I mean, like you mentioned, Cam Simon, come on, Cam. We can't have the fouls. You got to just go in there and, do the performance. Cam, obviously just a banter aside, great competitor. Hopefully we don't see as many fouls the next fight, and, start racking up more fights than fouls. But regardless, Cam is just, I think from his Contender Series performance, he's done remarkable things. And then also, just on top of that, Dricus, I got to ask you about Still Knox Leather. Man, it looks amazing, just the Still Knox Leather products. Talk to me about, just that roots and your roots on the farm and bringing that to life with Still Knox Leather.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few endeavors that we, and we try to keep in the family, me and my brothers, my dad, and like you said, we have our roots, and we have it's not only sport, but also there is a life after this, but it's also it's fun. It's fun for me to be in different business endeavors. It's something that's always going to be a part of me. I grew up in a family that my dad has been an amazing role model to me and my brothers in terms of being smart financially, and helping us with having a sense of realizing, like, listen, you do see a lot of athletes that, and it's actually a sad thing that they do not realize that this money is going to stop at some stage, or, there needs to be a plan, and you can be, make a plan now so you don't have to worry about it later. But doing these things. And like you said, it's a part of our culture, and it has that South African feeling. And everything we do, we have a new venture coming up as well. It's going to be very, very big, and it's going to be an international one. But it's also 100% a South African venture. It's keeping it local, and in the same time, the local culture, sharing that with the world, and having the opportunity to firstly create a job for somebody in South Africa. Secondly, letting the world know about South African culture, and that's something special, and it's amazing. And it's another challenge. Business is extremely hard, just like any sport is, and it forces you to be better in every single way. You can apply the same principles you apply to being a professional athlete to being a businessman, and every businessman in the world can tell you that. Every great entrepreneur will tell you that, and sportsman can tell you how the principles of one relates 100% to the principles of another. At the end of the day, it's about taking risk, it's about working hard, and it's about seeing an opportunity and seizing it. And you win some, you lose some. Sometimes you slip up and you learn from your mistakes, and you dust yourself up and you get back and be better.
Absolutely, and Dricus, like you mentioned, just a professional in all aspects, I should say, whether it's fighting, whether it's business, whether it's, just in how you handle your lifestyle. And I think that you've just really highlighted and categorized what it means to be a professional in life, but also as a competitor in the octagon. And I thank you so much for your time, for the chat, and for the good energy. And I feel like if there's anything that viewers of this interview can be taking from this interview, is don't shy away from being the pioneer, being the guy who really establishes the culture, creates the table. I read a quote and it really stood out to me. It's like, don't beg for a seat at the table. Don't beg for a seat when you can make the table yourself. And I feel like that's something that's really rung and resonated with me, is about being a pioneer. And I feel like in all of its glory and in all of its righteousness, you and what your team has done, and what the people before you, Gareth McClellan, Jody Scheckter, and establishing this sports culture in South Africa and really building something remarkable, and even when the odds are stacked against you, defying those odds, it speaks volumes about the character of the South African people, and more importantly about what's to come. And I guess just to wrap things up, obviously you've got your goals and your ambitions of being the first champ from South Africa in the UFC, but I guess, are there any personal goals, or would the mixed martial art goals tie into the personal goals? I guess, what's something that I guess you want to accomplish, already being halfway through 2023? Is there any goals? Obviously, getting to Rob Whittaker is goal number one, but any personal goals?
I set the goal before, at the end of last year. I said 2020. Well, we set this goal before I signed with the UFC. So we obviously had a map of my career. A lot of things changed. With COVID, there was a lot of uncertainty. I couldn't fight for almost a year. Then, now I've had 3 fights in 7 months. We just try to wrap them up to get that ladder, to get back on track. And we are back on track. We said, we decided before I even signed the UFC, listen, by 2023, I want to have a title shot by 2023. I want to have that number one contender spot by 2023. That's what we said. I said I want a title before I'm 30 years old. I'm 29 now, so that is a goal, and it's still en route. And we got thrown off a little with the whole COVID thing and not being able to fight and get a visa for almost a year. But we had to make up for it now. We had, like I said, 3 fights, 7 months, and we are right back on track. My personal goals, where I'm at in my life right now, in my career, ever since the age of 19 when I started fighting professional, and nothing in my life does not involve fighting. No goals, no nothing that I do. There's everything takes a backseat at the end of the day. My family realizes this, my friends, the people close to me, they all know that I'm not defined by fighting, although I feel I am actually. There's nothing. It's not that if I fail in fighting, I'm a failure as a person, not at all. But everything I do as a person revolves around fighting and being the best fighter I can possibly be. Like you said, I am a pioneer in a certain way, and at the end of the day, that is what is important. I said it's a responsibility. It's not just a title. You have a responsibility, and a responsibility like that requires sacrifice, and it requires absolute laser focus and I can't be distracted from anything else. I can't be distracted. I have to keep my eyes on the prize, and you have one shot at this. It's an extremely competitive sport. To get the shot at UFC firstly, and now where we're going with this, there's no time for any personal goals right now. The goals right now are all based on getting that title and being the greatest fighter to ever walk this earth. That's all. That's where my mind is at.
Absolutely, Dricus, and obviously, a remarkable goal to have and a remarkable drive and power behind you, a country behind you, a great team behind you, and more importantly, a great mindset to bring to the table. And I thank you so much for your time and good energy and just being able to chop it up with you. And I feel like despite, everything that people say and all people trying to create a story, I think at your core, you're truly just a great role model and pioneer for everyone around you who really just wanting to look for quality work ethic. I think at the core of it, that's what it comes down to is work ethic, is proving the doubters wrong, and more importantly, keep on upping the ante. And I look forward to watching you compete at UFC 290 against Robert Whittaker. I wish you the best of luck, brother. And obviously to the fans at home watching this, if you're not keeping up with Dricus as a professional, I feel like there's a lot of insight and development you can get from it. Obviously, he's got his side endeavors, which I think are really interesting. Still knocks leather. I might have to get myself, some quality South African leather if I'm being honest. But, just a remarkable human being, a remarkable competitor, and I look forward to watching you again in the octagon. And it's been me, Dan, from FightWave, guys. If you guys enjoyed this interview, do be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day.